All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little Super Bowl 59 preview. And of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. Go say out to Damon and Mary, get some brisket chili. Pig and a Pickle. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Call my friend Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. And this video is also brought to you by our friends at Aura, and we'll have a word from Aura in a bit. But let's first talk a little bit about Super Bowl 59, the Eagles and the Chiefs. The Chiefs going for the three-peat. The Eagles looking for a revenge win after losing this same game 2 years ago to the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, let's talk about this thing. To me, the best guy to break down the Super Bowl is Warren Sharp. He's just so intelligent, so many different interesting angles, whether they be betting angles or just angles on how the game is likely to play out. Warren Sharp is all over it. He's got a number of interesting points that he has made in this game. And so let's get right to it. And we'll go through some of his best points of the week from the stuff that he's put out there. All right. First of all, the one prop bet that I really do like quite a bit is I like Kareem Hunt on an anytime touchdown. If you look at Kareem Hunt, he has played more snaps in the red zone and on the goal line than Isaiah Pacheco. And so I think it's very likely that Kareem Hunt gets an anytime touchdown. It's plus 140. He's played 10 snaps to 3, as compared to Isaiah Pacheco in what they call goal-to-go situations so far in the playoffs. So when they get down on the goal line, they're not handing it to Pacheco. They're handing it to Kareem Hunt. In 2 playoff games, Kareem Hunt has 10 snaps in goal-to-go situations. He's taken over the lead rushing role in the playoffs with Isaiah Pacheco struggling to kind of regain the form that he showed early in the season because of the injuries. In the playoffs, Kareem Hunt has rushed successfully on 48% of his runs compared to only 20% for Pacheco. Hunt has averaged 3.6 yards after contact compared to only 1.5 yards after contact for Isaiah Pacheco. And thus, Kareem Hunt's getting a lot of the goal line carries. And as I just told you, Hunt's played 10 snaps in goal-to-go situations in the playoffs thus far. Pacheco's played 3. So plus 140, the anytime touchdown for Kareem Hunt looks good, and I agree with Warren Sharp wholeheartedly. Now, another guy who Warren Sharp really likes as far as props in this game is Dallas Goedert. Kansas City's defense has allowed the most yards per target to the tight end position. Dallas Goedert is expected to have, they're estimating about 4.5 catches. I like the over. 51.5 receiving yards. I like the over. 19.5 for longest catch. I might stay away on that one. But Kansas City gives up yards to the tight end. Goddard's healthy. And I think he's going to have at least 5 or 6 catches and probably close to 60 yards. So I like Dallas Goedert in the props quite a bit. Another angle on this game I think to watch for is, if you're saying like who is Mahomes going to target in the end zone, it's kind of interesting. If you take a look at who has the most targets in the end zone for Kansas City since week 8, if you ask that question, I think the first answer would be Travis Kelce, but no, it's not Travis Kelce. And then you think, well, maybe Xavier Worthy. He's come on lately. Maybe it's Xavier Worthy. No, it's not Xavier Worthy. The guy who's had the most end zone targets since week 8 is DeAndre Hopkins, who has 8. And that's double Xavier Worthy and 3 more than Travis Kelce. So DeAndre Hopkins, he's been getting the end zone targets, coming from Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes trusts him. He doesn't separate great. He doesn't run really well at this point. But if you're looking for, somebody who's going to get the ball in the end zone, the numbers say in the playoffs it's been DeAndre Hopkins. Now, Travis Kelce, do you bet Travis Kelce props or not? Travis Kelce's yards after the catch have declined now for 3 straight years. He had a career low 3.8 yards after the catch in 2023, but he's still a key target. He has a 23.4% target share. And if you look at Vic Fangio's defense, Fangio has a bend but don't break defense. He absolutely will not let you throw the ball over the top of his head. So I don't like Xavier Worthy to get over in this game, but I do love Travis Kelce to be targeted a lot. Just to give you a comparison, Zach Ertz in the NFC Championship game for the Commanders was targeted because of the way Fangio's defense kind of plays and takes away the deep stuff, and they give you the underneath. Zach Ertz was targeted 16 times in the NFC Championship game, and he caught 11 balls. So I definitely like Travis Kelce to be targeted early and often. Mahomes loves to go to him. I don't think the Kansas City receivers are going to be able to get open against the Philadelphia corners, and I do think I do believe Travis Kelce is going to get a lot of targets. So I love the over in targets for Kelce, and I love the over in catches for Travis Kelce. As far as who's going to win this game, I want to say it's Philadelphia because Philadelphia has, I think, the better roster top to bottom. But I keep coming back to Patrick Mahomes. And Mahomes is 17-0 in one-score games since 2023. All the close games, this guy knows how to do it. He knows how to win the close games. He just does. He has 7 game-winning drives in the playoffs, second only to Tom Brady. He's impervious to the pressure. He doesn't feel the pressure. He's really an incredible player, and I kind of expect, his incredible player trend to continue. So, one thing to watch in this game, I think it's going to be fun to watch, is the Chiefs' run defense splits are staggering versus 11 personnel. Versus 2 tight end sets, if you look at what they do against 2 tight end sets, the Chiefs are, versus, I think they're like 7th in EPA. Versus 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receivers, they're 24th in yards per carry. They're 17th in EPA. Philly is using 11 personnel on 81% of their snaps in the postseason in quarters 1, 2, and 3. Things get wonky in the fourth because of game situations. But in the first 3 quarters of the game, the Eagles play 81% 3 wides, and the Chiefs are 24th in the 24th in the NFL in yards per carry out of 3 wides. So look for the Eagles to get in 3 wides and hand the ball to Saquon Barkley. And, he probably is going to have some success running in 3 wide receivers. That's going to be interesting to see if Spags can make the adjustment in 3 wide receivers. And can the Eagles run it in 3 wides? And if they can, man, it might be a long day. It might be absolutely a long day for Kansas City if the Eagles can run the ball effectively in 3 wide receivers. The Eagles, as I said, use a lot of 3 wides, and they run the ball effectively out of it. And the Chiefs struggle to defend the runs out of 3 wide receiver formations, out of that personnel grouping. So there you go. Could be a real challenge in this game to see if they get to 3 wide receivers a lot, overall, is Philadelphia able to run the ball? And if they are, do they stay in 3 wides and run it all night? Warren Sharp says the Chiefs' 3 keys to winning are they have to have red zone success. The Chiefs have been great at getting to the red zone. They haven't been great at scoring once they get to the red zone, touchdowns, that is. So do they have success in the red zone? They get to the red zone more than anybody. How do they do when they get there is going to be a big key for Kansas City. How much success do the Chiefs have on 3rd down? That's going to be a big one. That's the money down. That's the quarterback down. And then the short passing game. Can the Eagles or can the Chiefs establish the short passing game because Fangio takes away the deep passing game and kind of makes you work underneath? Can they work effectively underneath? For the Eagles, the 3 keys, can they have success in 11 personnel, with 3 wides? Can they, as I just laid out, can they run the ball effectively? The Chiefs struggle to stop the run against 3 wide receivers, and the Eagles play a lot of 3 wides in the playoffs. So can they have success in 11 personnel, or does Spags make the adjustments? Can the Eagles protect Jalen Hurts? Chris Jones is a monster, and he owns the line of scrimmage. if Hurts is running for his life, it's going to be major advantage Kansas City. And then Jalen Hurts against zone coverage. Jalen Hurts is really, really good against man-to-man. And the Chiefs love to play man, but he struggles against zone. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of zone coverages Spags dials up in this game for Jalen Hurts. I think that's going to be one of the real interesting aspects of this game is, do the Kansas City Chiefs play a lot of zone in this game? And then if so, can Hurts make plays against the zone? What's interesting too is Vic Fangio's defense is built on preventing big plays and forcing kind of long, methodical drives. It's funny, that would frustrate a lot of, prior editions of Kansas City's offense, but not necessarily this Kansas City team. In 2024, Kansas City is number 2 out of 192 teams going back to 2019 in rate of passes thrown at or behind the line of scrimmage. They throw 31% of their passes behind the line of scrimmage. So, the fact that the Eagles take away down the field, that might just be fine with Kansas City. They might be fine to just, they say you can't go broke making a profit, right? And it might be Mahomes in the short passing game and a lot of stuff that negates Philly's pass rush and gets the ball out of his hands. Patrick Mahomes this year is number 5 in the NFL as far as fastest time to throw. He gets rid of the ball in 2.54 seconds. In the playoffs, he's dropped that number to 2.3 seconds. So he's getting rid of the ball very, very quickly. Mahomes this year is also 4th highest in percentage of throws thrown within 2 seconds. 34% of his throws come out in 2 seconds. So this whole idea that, we're going to build up a pass rush, we're going to sack Mahomes. No, you're not. You're never going to sack him. He never holds the ball in the playoffs. I mean, if you want to give an example of this, he was 4th highest as far as he was number 4 in the NFL as far as highest percentage of throws gotten off within 2 seconds in the regular season, 34%. In the playoffs, 47% of his throws he's getting out of his hand within 2 seconds. So unless you can get a lead and he's got to, you're forcing him to throw and he's got to really survey the field, he's going to be able to get the ball out quick and you're not going to sack him. So, that whole approach to Mahomes, it works with other guys. It really doesn't work with Patrick Mahomes because he doesn't hold the ball. And he doesn't hold the ball in the regular season. In the playoffs, he really doesn't hold the ball. The ball is coming out every single time. It's going to be really fascinating to see the way that Steve Spagnuolo elects to defend Jalen Hurts. As we mentioned before, Kansas City plays the 10th highest rate of man-to-man coverage in the NFL. But Jalen Hurts averages an NFL best 9.7 yards per attempt against man coverage this year, according to Next Gen Stats. So do you do what you do well? If that's Kansas City, that's playing man-to-man coverage. Or do you try to throw at Hurts something that makes him do something he's not as good at doing? That is going to be one of the questions. Exactly how does Spags and company choose to defend Jalen Hurts? One area that I think is also kind of interesting is Spags and the Chiefs' defensive coverage splits when blitzing. In zone blitzes, they're number 1 in pressure rate, and they're number 2 in yards per attempt allowed. When they have man blitzes, when they're playing man coverage and they blitz, they're 26th in pressure rate and 28th in yards per attempt allowed. So, if you look at Jalen Hurts versus zone blitzes this year, he has a 17% sack rate, which is the worst in the NFL. So think about that for a second. The Chiefs, when they play man and they blitz, they're 26th in pressure rate, 28th in yards per attempt allowed. But when they play zone and they blitz, they're number 1 in pressure rate and number 2 in yards per attempt allowed. And then you factor in Hurts, who has got a 17% sack rate, worst in the NFL against zone blitzes this year. What do you think we're going to see a lot of in Super Bowl 59? You're going to see a lot of the Chiefs playing zone and blitzing Hurts out of zone. And I think that is going to be one of the keys to the game. It's one of the reasons I think Kansas City ultimately is going to win this game. Now, the interesting thing is the Eagles are like, hey, man, this is going to be a totally different story this time around. Last time around, we didn't have Saquon Barkley, and now we do. But it's interesting. If you look at the 2024 Eagles offense, it's a far cry from their 2022 Super Bowl run offense. You know, they faced the number 2 in most third downs, number 3 in highest run rate, 48% in the first 3 quarters. They're 16th in pace of play despite being number 2 in no huddle rate. So why is their offense not as good? It's because of the regression of Jalen Hurts. He is not playing as well as a passer this year than he was 2 years ago. He's not the same player this year. Now, the league's adjusted to him to some degree. He's had some injuries. Maybe that's part of it. But they've added Saquon Barkley, and yet their offense is not as efficient in certain areas as it was 2 years ago. So don't let you know. So the Eagles' defense with Fangio is way better than it was 2 years ago. And you'll hear the Eagles people talk about, oh, yeah, our defense is so much better than it was in 2022 when we lost this game. And they're absolutely right. But what they aren't going to tell you is even though they have Saquon Barkley, their offensive numbers are actually worse than their team from 2 years ago. Something to remember when you're watching this game. You know, there's a couple other angles on this game that, you know, I think are really interesting as well. Devontae Smith, you know, there's been so much talk about A.J. Brown. I think people think that A.J. Brown's going to be the star of this game and that Devontae Smith is going to be kind of a scrub. If you look at you know, the job that Devontae Smith has done against the Chiefs in the past, one game he had 7 catches for 100 yards. The next game he had 6 catches for 99 yards. He's out-targeted A.J. Brown in both of those games. He played 46% from the slot this year when Brown and Goddard were healthy. Well, Brown and Goddard are healthy, so expect Devontae Smith to play out of the slot. 52% of catches by wide receivers against Kansas City's defense this year have come against the slot receiver or come to the slot receiver. The slot receiver has had a lot of success against the Chiefs this year. Now, since they moved Snead, they moved McDuffie outside. Last year, he was the slot corner, and he was an awesome slot corner. Took away Debo in the Super Bowl. McDuffie's maybe the best slot corner. This year, without Snead, they've moved McDuffie outside, and 52% of the catches given up by Kansas City's defense are coming against their slot corner. So I know A.J. Brown gets a lot of attention, but Devontae's going to be in that slot, and Devontae's going to get the ball. And so I kind of like the prop on Devontae Smith. If you can get him as either catches or yards, I think the over on Devontae makes sense. I think I would go over on Devontae and under on A.J. Brown. The other thing to look for in this game, and it's kind of an interesting matchup, is the Eagles play a lot of cover 4 and a lot of cover 6. You know, they play a lot of cover 4 and cover 6, and Mahomes is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL against those two coverages on third downs. So that could play into the hands of Vic Fangio and the Eagles defense. Mahomes is 8-0 against Vic Fangio, okay, and his defenses. He only has 10 touchdown passes and no more than 2 in any individual game against Fangio's defenses. He's thrown 30% of his passes at or behind the line of scrimmage. The Eagles are allowing the fewest yards after catch, 4.7 yards per completion. And we'll see if this kind of plays into Philadelphia's hands. Now, the thing about the Eagles, they don't blitz a lot on third down. They don't play a lot of man on third down. They, you know, if you look at the Eagles, you know, first of all, Hurts has really struggled when pressured. I think he's 37th out of 37 quarterbacks when pressured. He's 37th out of 37 quarterbacks in success rate when pressured. He's 37 out of 37 quarterbacks in EPA per attempt when pressured. He's 33rd out of 37 quarterbacks in sack rate when pressured. And he's 32 out of 37 quarterbacks in yards per attempt when pressured. So, that's that. If you can pressure Hurts, Kansas City's going to win the game. The one thing about Kansas City is Steve Spagnuolo makes brilliant adjustments. Throw out the first quarter because anything can happen in the first quarter. But then Spags adjusts. And Kansas City is number 6 in the NFL in defensive pressure rate in quarters 2, 3, and 4. They adjust and they put pressure on the quarterback. And as you can tell, if you pressure Jalen Hurts, he is a circus. He is not a good quarterback when you pressure him. So the question is, can Kansas City pressure him? And they've got Chris Jones. So I feel pretty good about Kansas City dialing up pressure on Jalen Hurts. The other key is, a lot of people are like, oh, you know what? No, this is going to be the Saquon Barkley game. Barkley is going to run all over this team. Really? Let's take a look at the last 2 Super Bowls. Last year, the Niners rolled into the Super Bowl with the number 1 rush offense in pro football, with Christian McCaffrey leading the way. What did Spags hold him to? 3.6 a carry. The longest run he had all day was 11 yards, and he fumbled. 2 years ago against Philadelphia, the Eagles brought the number 1 rush offense in football into the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 57. What did Spags do to them? He held them to 2.6 yards per carry, and their top running back had 7 rushes for 16 yards. Spags is big in big games. Absolutely. The other thing I think is going to be a factor in this game is I think Mahomes has a chip on his shoulder that's just massive. He's the second best player of all time. Quarterback-wise, right there with Brady and Montana. I mean, he's right there. He's a top 3 guy. But he's only got 2 MVPs. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. They had the best record in the NFL. They had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And he finished behind Josh Allen in the MVP. And Lamar. And Saquon Barkley. And Joe Burrow. And if that was enough, that would be enough disrespect. He had 16 fewer votes for MVP than Jared Goff. Do you think Mahomes is going to roll into Super Bowl Sunday with a chip on his shoulder? He's going for 3 in a row. He's the best player at the most important position in America's most popular sport, but he finished behind Allen, Jackson, Barkley, Burrow, and Goff. Really? 6th in the MVP voting for the best quarterback in the game. 6th. That is going to be interesting. That is going to be really, really interesting what happens on Super Bowl Sunday, because I think Mahomes feels like he's been disrespected, and I think he's going to fire a huge effort. Now, Fangio's red zone defense could be huge, could be absolutely huge in this game. This is another area that I think you really got to look for this area to impact the game. Let's talk a little bit about this for a second. The Chiefs' offense since 2019, if you're just talking about percentage of drives to reach the red zone, they get there almost more than anybody. 37% for Vic Fangio. 37%. Basically, the Chiefs get to the red zone more than almost anybody in pro football. But their touchdown rate inside the red zone, against Fangio defenses, it's 37%. Against every other defense, it's 62%. So can Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, Andy Reid against Vic Fangio in the red zone is probably where this game's going to get decided. It's probably where this game's going to get decided, because Fangio's really good at taking away touchdowns in the red zone, and Andy Reid is really good at getting to the red zone. They haven't been a good red zone touchdown team this year. Whoever wins that battle probably wins this game. That's how close this game is. A lot of people want to go with the Saquon Barkley, catches prop. Don't. Saquon Barkley has topped 2.5 catches just once since week 12 and only 5 times all season. So he's the Eagles' workhorse, but he's only got a 10.3 target share. That's 13th among running backs in the NFL. The under on receptions is a little risky if Philly is playing catch-up for sure, and there's a chance that they will. But they don't throw the ball to Saquon Barkley. They really don't. So that's something to watch. As far as injuries in this game, the Eagles' offensive line's a little dinged up. Cam Jurgens has a back issue. Landon Dickerson's got a knee issue. They didn't practice during the bye week. They're not carrying any injury designation into the game, but they're not 100%. Brandon Graham's got a torn tricep for the Eagles. He's a question mark. The Chiefs are fully healthy. Fully healthy. All 53 players practice in full before the AFC title game. You won't see McCole Hardman. He's out on the IR. Sky Moore is doubtful. But for the most part, I would say that Kansas City's a little bit of the healthier team. And, the other thing I think is kind of interesting, we said the Chiefs expect the Chiefs to blitz out of the zone against Hurts. Jalen Hurts was blitzed on 29.9% of his dropbacks this year, 6th highest in the league. The Eagles are 6th in the NFL in ESPN pass block win rate, so their offensive line is considered one of the best, and they're 6th in Pro Football Focus's pass blocking grade. But Jalen Hurts, from time to time, will hold the ball, and sometimes he processes things a little slowly. And when teams blitz him and he holds the ball for more than 2.5 seconds, that's when he hits the turf. He's been sacked 19 times. 16 of the 19 sacks have come when he's been either blitzed or when he's been blitzed and held the ball for longer than 2.5 seconds. So watch Kansas City in this game. They're going to play a lot of zone. They're going to blitz him. They're going to try to confuse him. They're going to try to get him, take away his first read and get him to hold the ball. And if he holds the ball, they're going to sack him. And those negative plays, I think, are probably the difference in the game. Philly, I think, has the better roster, but the Eagles have the better head coach. The Eagles have the better defensive coordinator. The Eagles have the better special teams coordinator. The Eagles have the better quarterback, and the Eagles have the more ferocious, unstoppable defensive lineman in Chris Jones. Bottom line is Mahomes doesn't lose Super Bowls for the most part. I mean, he lost that one to Brady, but he had neither tackle, and he was running for his life. I don't expect that to happen in this game. I expect the ball to come out fast. I expect them to mix in a little bit of run. It will be interesting to see how many run plays Reed wastes because he's not getting explosives out of his run game at all, like at all. Really a small percentage of the Eagles' explosives or the Chiefs' explosives come from the run game. Kareem Hunt's not giving them explosive runs. Pacheco's not the same guy he was a year ago. So how many running plays will Andy Reid, they're kind of almost sacrificial lamb plays. I mean, every time the Kansas City Chiefs run the ball, Eagles ought to do cartwheels because that means Mahomes is not making plays. But that's going to be interesting. Is Kansas City able to run the ball effectively? If they are, I think they're going to win this game comfortably. I think it's going to be a really hard-fought game. I like a low-scoring game. Just for those who want to know how I'm going to wager on this game, I'm going to take the Chiefs on the teaser to the under. So I'm going to tease that number up, and I'm going to go under, and I'm going to take the Chiefs and play with the 7.5 points on their side. Part of me says go with the Eagles, but I don't think the Chiefs are blowoutable. So I'll take the Chiefs and the points on the teaser, and I definitely like both defenses to kind of rule the day. Now, I could be upset by that because Mahomes is Mahomes, and he can put up 30 at drop of a hat. I don't think it's going to happen. I like Fangio's defense to get a few stops. I like Spags' defense to get a few stops. I like a low-scoring, grinded-out kind of a game, and I'll take the Chiefs on the teaser to the under. All right, let's hear from our sponsor of this video. A word now from our sponsor, Aura. Have you ever typed your name on the internet and seen all of your private information is online? Are you tired of receiving tons of spam calls from random numbers? Are you receiving more and more of these as time has gone on? Well, that's where Aura, the sponsor of today's show, can really help you out. Data brokers sell your information to scammers and spammers and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, your email, your home address, all your records, your health records, who your relatives are. It's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it also protects me from hackers who could use the information to help them access my social media accounts, my bank accounts, or any other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats I can't see. I get other features like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. It's really easy to set up. And best of all, I get everything at one affordable price. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to the link in the description to start your 2-week free trial. All right, there you have it. That's our Super Bowl 59 preview. I like the Chiefs. I like the under, but I'm going to bet it with the Chiefs on the teaser to the under. So there you go. And thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. And thanks as well to Pig and a Pickle. Enjoy Super Bowl 59. Eat well. Be merry. Hopefully the Niners will be back in this thing next year when it returns to Levi's. And happy Super Bowl Sunday. It has been a whale of a football season. I've enjoyed all of it. I hope you guys have as well. Make sure you join us in the postgame show. We'll have our big Super Bowl 59 postgame show. We're giving away an autographed Ricky Pearsall number 14 jersey in the postgame. Kev will be there. Danny, Rye, maybe Red, Cyrus. Should be a fantastic show. Right after the final buzzer sounds of Super Bowl 59, jump onto YouTube and the Krug Show and join us for postgame. We'll have a whale of a postgame show. Kev says he's going to have me slam a beer in the middle of the postgame show. So there you go. You got that to look forward to, which is nice. And once again, thanks for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.